guys, I hope you're doing all right today. We are going to look at L1 and varying sentence structure. So we're going to look at the different types of sentences that you should be using. So the first one is a simple sentence. You're just going to have one subject and one verb. You're going to use these types of sentences for simplicity, concision, and emphasis or clarity. So for example, between 11 and 20% of veterans suffer from PTSD. So I have my subject, and I have my verb, and that's it. 23% of women in the military have reported sexual assault. So I have my subject and my verb, what they did. Okay? So I'm using the simple sentences there because that's a staggering statistic, and I want people to really take notice of those statistics. So the next type is compound sentences. This is where you're going to have two independent clauses, and an independent clause is a complete sentence. So when you use this type of sentence, you have two ways to do it. You can use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So your coordinating conjunctions are the fanboys: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Or you can use a semicolon. So you want to use these sentences when you're developing more complex ideas or showing relationships like cause and effect, or when you're describing something in detail. So here's the examples for that. Soldiers risk their lives to protect America, so the government needs to do more to help them when they return home. So my first independent clause is this. My second one is this. And then I combine them with a comma and a coordinating conjunction, so. Now, if I have that same sentence and I want to use a semicolon instead, then I put it here, no comma, no coordinating conjunction, and notice that this is not capitalized. You really just want to use semicolons when the two sentences are directly related, and if you're not sure about it, then just if you're using the conjunction so, then you know they're very much related, kind of that cause and effect situation. So complex sentences are next. This is when you have a dependent clause and an independent clause. So remember, an independent clause is a complete sentence by itself. A dependent clause is not. It needs an independent clause to make the whole thing complete. So you use these types of sentences for description or emphasis. So, for example, because soldiers risk their lives for America is my dependent clause. The government should do more to help them when they return home is my independent clause. You always want to put a comma after the dependent clause if it comes at the beginning of the sentence. If it's at the end of the sentence, like here, because they risk their lives for America, notice I do not have to have a comma here that separates the dependent clause from the independent clause. Then we have compound complex sentences. This is when you have one or more dependent clauses and one compound sentence. So, or two. I mean, you could really use more than one, but it would get really confusing, so I don't suggest it. You want to use these when you're describing really complex ideas. So here's the example for that. Even though he didn't believe it, Chris Kyle was hailed as a hero, and this caused him to have a moral conflict. This first part is my dependent clause. Then I have independent and independent joined by a comma and a conjunction. Okay, so I have my dependent, independent, independent with the comma and coordinating conjunction makes it the compound sentence. This first part makes it the complex sentence. Another example. When Chris kills a child, he is praised for his actions. However, he does not want the recognition. So I have my dependent with my comma because it's at the beginning. He is praised for his actions, is independent. And then, however, he does not want the recognition is another independent. So notice you can still use these transitional words here, but again, don't capitalize it. Make sure you punctuate correctly. Here's your semicolon. So another way to vary your types of sentences is using phrases, like appositive phrases and participial phrases, and you will be getting into that in your next 2 lessons. So what I want you to do is write a paragraph about American Sniper, and I don't care what it's about, but make it cohesive. Within the paragraph, use at least one simple sentence, one compound sentence, one complex sentence, and one compound complex sentence. And be sure to punctuate correctly. If you need help, let me know.